Hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my overview of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Realms of Ruin. So this is a little bit out of season, however, I just did a review on Jurassic World Evolution, right, which is Frontier Developments, which is the same dev, and I quite like them. They've done a bunch of stuff that I really enjoy, you know, like Chaos Gates, one off the top of my head. The Western Front was unusual, it was original, I quite enjoyed what they did there. Now, I think their F1 Manager games are great. They're a revival of the Motorsport Manager game, which I loved back in the day. And so we have this, which has been sitting there looking at me. I mean, I don't have it. I just bought it on deep sale because it's the summer sale. Frontier asks for quite a premium when it comes to these sort of games. So look, I saw it on deep sale for the summer thing. I picked it up for like 15 bucks. I thought I'd give it a go. Now, as much as I'm a fan of what they've done, I'm going in with open eyes. This has always had mixed reviews ever since launch day, and at the time of this recording, it has mostly negative reviews. Now, I don't court negativity. In fact, I kind of despise my contemporaries, the YouTubers. Their entire business model is bashing the shit out of everything. I don't really know how you could enjoy living life that way. I'll call something for what it is, but know that I didn't go into this to bash it. Having said all that, not to leave you in suspense, what do I think of this game? I think this has no right to be as good as it actually is. Oh, no, he said the wrong thing. Let's negative comment pile on and just hate train him. I actually do not really understand. Well, I don't want to be facetious. This game doesn't deserve the negativity that it's got. And if I were to make a sort of educated guess, I think there's a couple of reasons why people don't like this game. And for the most part, I don't think it stands for the merit of this game. This is really cool. I really like it. Consider getting it on deep sale. If you're kind of a fan of, like, this might be a weird comparison, but I'm kind of getting vibes from when I played the Warcraft 3 campaign way back in the day. You bloody Arthas and all this running around in their friggin' big pauldron armor, in their little cutscenes and that. This has some really high production quality cutscenes and a campy sort of story. It's all set in the Age of Sigmar universe, doing its own thing. I'm only peripherally aware of that lore. I guess it's almost 10 years it's been around for, but it's kind of cool. It's sort of Warhammer adjacent. Sigmarines is the joke, you know, they basically put Space Marines into a medieval setting, but I'm enjoying the cinematic quality of it, and the gameplay is definitely going for something a little bit different. And I think that's the problem. I think, and not to put words into the mouths of my detractors, but I really think people wanted this to be something that it's not, and are judging it for not being that. And this is something I bring up often. You got to be careful doing that, because often it's always going to turn out where you're unhappy. So the biggest crime that this game seems to commit is not being Dawn of War 4. Now, why on earth would you think it's Dawn of War 4? Well, I think because it's an actual real-time strategy, or at least it has aspects of that, you know, in-motion, real-time, top-down moving units. At a blush, you could look at it and say, oh, this looks like a Dawn of War game. However, it's not in any way associated with Relic. I mean, it's not 40k, but I get why people would make that jump. Age of Sigmar, but Dawn of War, maybe is what people got themselves hyped up for. I'll tell you what it is. It's a game made by Frontier Developments, who make expensive games, arguably overpriced games. It depends on what you think of their pedigree. And, as previously covered in the Jurassic World game, they like to make stuff that's hybridized and console ready. Now, Jurassic World Evolution, I sing the praises of, following in the footsteps of Operation Genesis, is a great way of essentially making a genre, you know, top-down, mouse, keyboard, clicky, colony management accessible for consoles, but yet still being quite playable and fun on the PC. This is doing the same sort of thing. This is, and while I haven't played it with control or on console or anything like that, this is probably as accessible as you're going to get for an RTS-esque game for console. I don't know what the marketing was around this because I missed it at launch, but that's what I know going in. I know who the developers are, I know what they do, and I also know what they ask in price. And going in knowing all these things, I kind of expected it to be like a buggy, broken mess or something to have courted so much hate, and I've come to realise I really do think, probably through a misstep in the way they did or didn't market, they've accidentally courted this humongous, ravenous fan base that wanted another Dawn of War game, and that's not what this is. So I'm not carrying water for it or anything like that, but, you know, I think my expectations were appropriate because I know their pedigree. So yeah, look, it is RTS-esque. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of things that are, you know, more contemporary skirmish battles, like in a way, Steel Division type games where you don't build anything base-wise, but you put units on from the side of the map. You know, things like Warno, something we looked at recently, though those are way more overbearing and complex. This is much more accessible with console in mind. Even things like the Starship Troopers game, Terran Command, this reminds me of. The game, I wouldn't say punishes you, but it encourages you not to blob. And you can sort of see that in the way that a lot of the movement happens. Like, the units seem to be slower and lumbering. I don't actually think they're that much slower. I think it's more that they have the animations that they resemble Space Marine Terminators in a way that they're lumbering around, but still, it seems slower, and your dudes kind of get locked into melee combat because it's also got the retreat that you have seen in something like a Dawn of War or a Company of Heroes. However, because this is mostly melee, there is ranged to a point, but melee is not really a thing from like Company Heroes or whatever. Once these dudes are locked into combat, they're kind of in it until someone dies or retreats. But yeah, that's the flavour that they're sort of going for. You commit troops to bottlenecks and holding lines, even things like the ranged crossbow dudes that you get from the Stormcast bloody Sigmarines behave in a way like a set-up machine gun that you do get in all sorts of RTS games. So while you do have ranged, it behaves on a more strategic layer, and you have to maneuver it, and it will mince its rock, paper, scissors counterpart, which is more, everything has a symbol, and it's like melee dudes with a sword symbol. They're more just DPS melee. It'll shred them, whereas it'll barely scratch the shield dudes, the more tanky dudes, and it sort of, you use them to close up on missiles. And it's quite frantic, it's quite difficult. The third mission actually had me sweating bullets when they introduced like undead dudes and that, and you're essentially playing a pitched battle against AI where they're spawning their own units and attacking points and probing you, and I'm only playing on normal difficulty, and yeah, really pushing every angle. I couldn't believe actually the difficulty jump from level 2 to level 3 was pretty wild. But, you know, I stepped up to the challenge and beat it, and it was good. It was fun. All the voice acting is really good. Like, again, I use Warcraft 3 as a touchstone, whether that's sacrilegious or not, but like having models and faces and voice acting and all the quality, like this is as top-notch as you could possibly ask for what is essentially, you know, a genre that when it comes to character animations and close-ups, you know, even things like the XCOM games, we all give them a pass because they're using their models from the RTS component, you know, like we let them off the hook for being kind of ugly when that does that. So I'm just so surprised at how cool all the narrative and the cinematic aspect of it is. I mean, I don't know where the story's going, and you know, it's pretty standard fare, but everything about this is really polished and high quality, but it's definitely more skirmishy. It's not about building a base. It's not about building fucking Vespine gas things. It's about spawning in a couple of troops. You control points on the map, kind of domination style. The enemy's trying to take them off you. You can sort of build outposts on them that do various things. Some of them are just the generic, they make more of X resource. But then you've got other ones that you can use as like a healing fallback point. All your dudes have like a couple of skill shots, which uniquely, whilst they have a cooldown, they also go against your kind of 2 world resources as well. So you're at that point where it's like, are you going to be using the skill shots? Because if you do that, you're not really going to buy more units. Healing outside of the healing shrines or home base is actually quite limited. Some units can. So attrition's a very real thing as well. So like the way that it plays out is very unique. It's very different. And I think that might be the upset. I feel like maybe there is a faction of people that really wanted something else just because they want it, as opposed to engaging with this game in what I would call good faith. which is judging it on its own merit. So it's doing its own thing. At a blush, it resembles Dawn of War, but what it's doing here, this small unit skirmishing stuff with an unusual way of doing resources, I'm really enjoying it. And I'm shortlisting it to put more time into it and maybe even review it. Like I said, I went in expecting it to be probably not fantastic, and I'm actually quite blown away, and in a way, it's almost a little bit tragic that I slept on it for so long. Wishlist it, shortlist it, put it in the back of your mind if you're interested in those sort of things. But yeah, that's my hot take on this game, judging it on its merits and finding it to be wonderful. Yeah, I guess we'll see what sort of hate I get for that. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being. I'll catch you guys on the next one.